All right, picking up with slide 14. Let's talk about diminished and augmented triads. So, although major and minor triads account for the vast majority of the triads you will find in music, you will also see two other triad qualities from time to time. And I'm talking about the diminished triad, which sounds like this, and the augmented triad, which sounds like this. So let's move on. Slide number 15. Talk a little bit more about the diminished triad. So the diminished triad consists of a diminished fifth and a minor third. Let's make a C diminished triad for an example. So our root, of course, is going to be C in a C diminished triad. And what's a diminished fifth above C? Well, first off, remember, think about what's a perfect fifth. That would be C to G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then a diminished fifth is when we take the fifth, G in this case, and lower it a half step to G flat. So our diminished fifth is C to G flat, right? And we get that quality. Now, so the diminished fifth also has a minor third for in the middle, right? And of course, what's a minor third above C? That is going to be E flat, okay? So our diminished fifth, our diminished triad will have C, or our C diminished triad, more specifically, will be C, E flat, G flat, right? That's our diminished triad. So just think diminished fifth and minor third makes a diminished triad. Okay, let's move on to slide number 16. Let's talk about the augmented triad. So the augmented triad consists of an augmented fifth and a major third. Okay, I don't think we talked about the augmented fifth in the last chapter when we talked about intervals. We did talk about the augmented fourth, but let's talk about the augmented fifth now. So let's make a C augmented triad. So again, our root will be C, and what's going to be our fifth above C? Again, like we just talked about, a fifth above C is G. And if we make it into, so that's our perfect fifth. And to make an augmented fifth, we need to raise the fifth up a half step to G sharp, right? So now that's our augmented fifth. C to G sharp. Okay. And our augmented triad also has a major third. So our major third in the key of C, once again, is E, right? So if we play C, E, G sharp, that's our C augmented triad, okay? All right, let's move on. Slide number 17. So a little bit more about diminished and augmented triads. So diminished chords are indicated in popular music symbols by the addition of dim to the root name. So for example, if we want to refer to a C diminished triad, we'll see something that looks like C dim, right? Like we see on slide number 17 here. So our C diminished triad again, we have C, E flat, G flat, which is the one we did before, a couple slides ago. E diminished triad will be what? E, G, B flat, right? There's our diminished fifth and our minor third in the middle. F sharp diminished will have what? F sharp, A, C, right? Which makes another one there. Now, let's move on to slide 18. So augmented chords are indicated in popular music symbols by the addition of AUG, or aug, right, to the root name. So C augmented will have, like we saw before, We'll see C aug, right? And again, C, E, G sharp for our C augmented chord. How about for B flat augmented? Just see B flat aug. That consists of B flat, D, F sharp, right? E flat augmented. We'll have what? E flat, G, B flat, or actually B natural, right? E flat augmented, right there. All right, moving on. Let's practice identifying some triads now using popular music chord symbols. So on slide 19 here, these may be one of four options. They may be major, they may be minor, they may be diminished, and they may be augmented, okay? So it's our job here to determine what quality they are. By the way, this can be found on page 172 in your book, if that's a little easier to write things down on. So let's practice a couple of these. We won't do all of them right here, but we'll do a couple. So let's look at the first one. The first one's done for us. It says D, right? And if it's just D and there's no dim or aug, AUG, or lowercase m, then we know it's D major, right? So the first one is D major. What makes it a major triad, though? Think back. Well, first of all, just maybe if you can, just play the chord, right? Look at what three pitches do we have here? We have D for the root, F sharp in the middle for the third, and A for the fifth on top, right? And that makes, you can already hear that it's major by just playing it. However, theoretically, what makes it major, right? Think about the intervals. So a major triad consists of a perfect fifth and also a major third above the root, right? So a perfect fifth above the root and a major third above the root. Play them all together. That's a D major triad. So for major triads, just think, okay, we have a perfect fifth above the root and a major third above the root. That makes it major. However, if this didn't have F sharp and instead just had F natural, that would make it into that would make that major third into a minor third, and thus making it into a minor triad, right? But there's F sharp on this example, so it's major. Let's look at the next one, the one to the right of the D major triad. So let's look at, first off, what are the three pitches? They are F for the root, A for the third, and C sharp for the fifth, right? Okay, so what is that? I can already hear what it is. It sounds augmented to me. But if I didn't pick up on that, we can dissect it theoretically. Right, so we have to think about the intervals here. First off, I noticed from F to C sharp. What interval is that? Well, it's not a perfect fifth, right? Because in the key of F, my perfect fifth would be from F to C. F, C. Think back to your F major scale, right? What's the fifth of that scale? F, G, A, B flat, C. So now what we have here, they've raised the fifth up a half step. So that automatically means it's an augmented fifth, right? Because if the fifth goes up a half step, it's augmented. So, and if we have that augmented fifth, I automatically already know it's going to be an augmented triad, right? And also, I see just to put a finer point on it, there's a major third in the middle. So that's an F augmented triad. So go through each of these, play them if you can, listen to them closely, and write them down. Okay, after you do that, you can pick up back on this video on slide number 20. So let's practice singing some triads now. This is a good way to sort of get them in your ears so that you can more easily identify them by just hearing them or listening to them. So let's take the example of a C major triad, right? So first off, we'll just play the triad, right? Then we want to sing the intervals of the triad. So we'll start with the root third relationship, and we'll go like this. 1, 3, major third, and then we'll do the fifth relationship. 1, 5, perfect fifth. Then we'll do the whole chord. We'll go 1, 3, 5, 3, 1, okay? And see if you can make it maybe a little bit more musical when you do it. How about something like 1, 3, major third, 1, 5, perfect fifth, 1, 3, 5, 3, 1. Something like that. Also, for further practice on this, sing the triads in assignments 9.1a and 9.2a on pages 181 and 183 in your book.